Okay, I am back in the area beyond the Treegate, and this is the pond that blocks off access to this area, to the other end of this area. The Treegate is up that way, and it blocks off one end. The pond is right up here a little bit further, and it blocks off the other end of this area. And then, you know, there's a field over there, but you wouldn't know it. It's just thick, dense growth everywhere. And then you have these little areas right here, like this, by this stump and up under here, that are like, you know, they have little, like rooms underneath all the growth. And they're all back in this stuff. This is one you can see, you know, from a little closer up. Then you got another one right here. You can go up in there, and there's little trails up in there, up under these big bushes that are vines and bushes. And they're just little hidey places all up in here. And these little things are everywhere. They're over here. They're all back in here. And I believe that this is a nesting area. Now what they actually do in nesting areas, I don't know. I mean, that's the name that everybody calls them. They obviously spend some part of their day in these areas, you know, probably resting is my clue. These nests tend to be in shady areas, near water, and you got the pond just right up here. They can go get a drink anytime they need, and they can sit back in these little shady areas and just chill, you know, unmolested, without, you know, having to worry about anybody running in up on them, because this stuff is so thick. Now right here where I'm standing is a kind of odd little place, because there's this little clearing right here in the midst of all this dense brush. And this is actually the spillway that comes out of that pond. It runs right down here when there's water in it. And also another little branch that comes over there and then flows down in this valley when there's a little bit more water. Tends to be pretty dry in the summertime. But this little area, I believe, is what they've blocked off as their nesting area. I have some really good pictures that I have gotten from screenshots from videos I've shot back here on several different occasions, with just really clear images of these guys. Now I say clear images, you know, most people are looking for a picture like Patty, you know, and most of the time, you know, on occasion these guys materialize in a real physical form, and they can interact physically with the world. Obviously they move branches, leave footprints, but most of the time these guys are in the cloak state, which, you know, because we don't understand it, you know, a lot of people have trouble believing it, but I believe it's just that these are beings. These are conscious beings, and consciousness in a living being can take many different forms, and I believe these guys live at a different vibration from us. When you look at quantum physics, you know, and it is explained to us that matter, all matter, is just vibrating strings of energy. So it is, I mean, completely possible for there to be other life forms that vibrate at a different frequency than us. You know, and it may be close to the frequencies of this world, what we call the physical world, which, you know, that's kind of interesting too. We call this the physical world, but you know, again, you go to quantum physics, and atoms, the atoms that make up all matter, are 99% empty space. And these images that we see of solid objects like this tree, the only solidity to that tree, in fact, you know, is the energy fields between the atoms that make up the molecules that form that tree. So, you know, in essence, this tree is an energy form that is actually 99% empty space. And it's only the force fields between these atoms that create the illusion of solidity to us. So to, you know, extrapolate from there and say, okay, there can be beings that are conscious and that live, that are in a different physical form from us, or at a different vibration, as I like to say, is completely plausible. This is not magical, non-scientific stuff. The problem is that we have a science that has narrowly defined what it will accept as evidence. You know, and it's a big error for science to do that. You know, when you're truly trying to understand things, you can't put limitations on what you say. Okay, yes, I will accept this as evidence, but I won't accept that as evidence. So science completely dismisses the idea that there could be beings of a different vibration that exist on this plane with us to one degree or another. You know, even though, you know, again, go back to quantum physics. Quantum physics just virtually predicts that there has to be other dimensions. And these other dimensions are on the other side of the universe. Well, there are some there, but the best way to understand these dimensions is they're right next door to us. Shamanic peoples throughout history have gone into trance states through drumming, music, chanting, use of hallucinogenic plants, various ways, and visited these other realms. And every culture on the planet talks about this. Religious cultures, you know, you go back, even the precious Christianity is largely based on people that were having psychedelic experiences, even though that part of the Bible's been left out, because the people that brought us today's Bible had a vested interest in getting people to see the world in certain ways. So they left out things that didn't mesh with what they were wanting to do. But anyway, I'm getting away from what I'm trying to say, and that's, you know, these beings can cloak, and it is an absolutely scientific. Science is catching up with what, you know, native peoples have known for centuries, millennia. You know, that these other worlds existed and these other beings existed side by side with us. The Native Americans had stories of it. You know, every native culture, you know, you go back before men started living in cities and getting away from nature, all native-based cultures understood these things. Even Europe has the stories of the gnomes and the trolls and the brownies and whatever, and the Native Americans had the same type of stories. So, you know, you guys that think that Bigfoot is just like a deer, you know, the same type of physical being as a deer or a bear, you need to open your mind. There are a lot of people like me that have great video of these guys, but they're in the form that they are in, which is often not readily visible to us, you know, in the light spectrum that we see things in. Even though if you look carefully at videos, like I do, you can find these guys. They're often there. They look like faint, ghostly images, you know, almost. But these guys absolutely exist in this, all around us. They're everywhere. I have found them in videos from every part of the world, all over the United States. Some of these guys are what we would term a Sasquatch, but many of these beings are not Sasquatch. There are a whole slew of different type of beings that exist in this different vibrational frequency. One day, you know, science will broaden its definitions and understand all this. It's a shame that, I don't know, maybe it may not be a shame. It may be a good thing that most people don't understand this. You know, I know a lot of people that like to think Sasquatch need protecting, and I'm not so sure they really do need protecting. They need habitat to live in, that's for sure. But from what I've seen, you may be able to trick them in some way or catch them off guard when they are physical enough that you could injure one. but in most circumstances, they exist in such a way as, first of all, you can't see them, but second of all, I believe if you shot a bullet at one, even though you saw him in his cloaked state, I believe a bullet would go right through him. I've seen them hiding in these woods on videos that I've shot and other people have shot, where you can actually see limbs of trees passing through them. These guys seem to be able to meld with physical objects when they want to, like such as being able just to back up into a tree so that they appear as the tree. Often the face remains visible, even in the cloaking state, and I believe that has something to do with their own consciousness. If they're looking at this world consciously, their face is going to be not as camouflaged or cloaked as the rest of their body. That's why I think you can often find the face in videos, and not so much usually the body. I do get the bodies too, but more often it's the face peeking out of somewhere. But I've been 10 feet from these guys where I knew they were there. I could see them there, got them on video so that I confirmed that they were there, and yet there was no way that they were physically interacting with our world right then. The brush wasn't moving. They weren't making a sound. I have these guys where I get back and I look at the video, and they were all around me. And they can be all around us without making a sound, usually without leaving footprints. At times they do leave footprints. At times they are actually a lot more physical than when they are in that cloaking state. My first experience with a Bigfoot was in Tennessee in 2000, and I walked around a hill ridge, and there he was, standing beside a pond. Now he still had a otherworldly look to him, but what he was a physical being that went crashing up the hill just at a rate you couldn't have believed. He must have been leaping 10, 20 feet at a time, grabbing trees, shaking them on the way up, just making a god-awful racket. And that being was the one I saw then was more typically what is reported in most Sasquatch encounters. And why at that particular time, he was visible, I don't know. I might have just surprised him and caught him off guard. And there were probably others around, as there always are. These guys are never alone. And he probably, made such a ruckus to distract me, from looking around. And he was protecting the rest of his clan, while they moved back away from me silently. He kept me focused on him by crashing up the hill. This thing went up a 300-foot hill in probably 10 seconds, just by leaps and bounds. I couldn't see him the whole way up the hill. When he disappeared into the trees, it was pretty thick, but you could see the tree limbs shaking and hear him just thump, boom, 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 crash, boom, boom, boom. It was like he was grabbing trees and pulling himself and jumping at the same time and leaping like some kind of ninja or something. And then he got to the top of the hill and it was completely silent. Never heard another thing. Anyway, but that's rare. I've begun to learn how to see these guys in their cloaked state now. But I haven't seen one in a purely physical form, to the degree I did in 2000. But I have learned to see this misty, shadowy look that they have on video. You can actually learn to see that with your eyes too. And on several different occasions I have seen that and zoomed in on it with the camera and was able to see these guys. Alright, well, I'm going to cut this short. It takes forever to upload them if I don't. And I'll walk around and I'll shoot some more video in a little bit. Hope you've enjoyed getting a look around back here.